Welcome to KHM Today, your weekly go-to resource for industry news and straight-up fun. I am your host, Carolyn Orff, and today is August 18th, and it is National Couples Day and also my 20th wedding anniversary. And I know you guys are going to be so jealous when you hear what I have planned for this evening. Wait for it. Back to school night. Now I can see the jealousy like coming through the screen. You guys are saying, oh, she is so lucky. But truly, I actually do think I'm a little lucky tonight because it's an event at the school. There's people in the gym. We get to finally meet teachers in person, unlike last year. So overall, I'm still thrilled that we get to spend time with other people together. Granted, it's at the school, but that's okay. And I am so grateful that today for National Couples Day, we get to spend it with some amazing guests as well. We have Marsha-Ann Brown from Sandals and Beaches Resorts. We have Toni Rath, who's here to talk about, give us some feedback from her fam that she went on earlier this summer. Matt's here for Matt's Compass. And we have Joanne Shikitino from the Groups Department here at KHM Today with another Groups Etc. segment. So before we get started, though, let's talk about National Couples Day. And of course, National Couples Day is sponsored by Princess Cruise Line, the original love boat carrier. And, you know, Couples Day, I had to do some research on this. And National Couples Day is all about people supporting one another's efforts to make each other happy and successful. So I thought that was so timely. It's not necessarily about love. It's just about being together. So I think that's pretty cool stuff. And wow, in the news, have we seen some interesting coupling lately? Hyatt, big news this week, coupling with ALG. So that's going to be really fun to watch over the next couple of months as that unfolds. And I say the term fun loosely. Hopefully it goes well and it's smooth for all of us advisors out there. But it's really going to be interesting. The three major players in the hotel industry have now paired up with some big all-inclusive companies. So it's going to be fun. All right, you guys, let's get started with a wonderful coupling of Toni Rath here and the Grand Palladium Puerto Vallarta, where she attended the FAM that took place earlier this summer. Hi, Toni.
Carolyn, how are you?
Good. And I'm trying to change my slide here. There we go. I don't know why this is so challenging some days. And now I've lost you on my screen. I can't even see you. But anyways, we're so glad that you're here. And it's weird to think that you're just maybe like, what, 40 minutes from me?
Yeah, just north of you.
Yeah, that's so cool. So let's talk about your FAM experience. Why did you decide to go on this particular FAM to Puerto Vallarta?
Well, Puerto Vallarta is one of my favorite places to go to, and I've been to a number of trips in Cabo and in the Riviera Maya, Cancun area. So I wanted to go to someplace else because the only place that my family will let us go to is Hard Rock in Puerto Vallarta. So I wanted to see something a little bit different, and also knowing that this where Grand Palladium is located north in the Banderas Bay is an up-and-coming new area. So I was really curious just to see what it had to offer.
And that's a much larger hotel than the Hard Rock in Puerto Vallarta, which I've been to as well. Give us kind of a rundown of some of your favorites about the property.
The rooms were really good size. Where it's located is it's about 30 minutes to Sayulita, about 30 minutes to Bucieres. It is an hour from the airport and an hour from downtown, so that's something to think of. But if you're looking for something a little bit more authentic, Mexico, then that's definitely, it's a nice central place to be able to be at. There was lively and it was quiet, just depending on where you were at. Having a good size room, I think, is a good thing. The food was really good. But the one thing that I would definitely let everyone know is there are a lot of hills and there are a lot of stairs. So keeping that in mind when you think of who you want to send there for sure.
Were there elevators to some of the rooms, or was it pretty much stairs all the way around?
It was stairs all the way around, and there were hills all the way around. There were parts of the resort that I don't know that we even went to simply because there were so many stairs. I know Chantel and Susie have a lovely story of their door person who was taking them up and he kept stopping, and you really needed, once you kept going, you needed the momentum to keep going up the hills. That gives you an indication of where we were at, and how hilly it is. Then yeah, you want to make sure that people can navigate the hills and they can navigate the stairs there.
You know, brings up such a good point, and I'm going to throw you a curveball here because what you just said is so important. Have you found a resource that helps determine properties that do not have elevators and are more stair oriented? I've never found one. And that's something to me that's so huge because mobility, I mean, it has nothing to do with age or anything. I mean, mobility issues across the board can hit all populations. So I feel like that's something that's hard to find the answers to.
Oh, for sure. I think I mean, it helps to know so many agents and be able to have access to them in the Facebook group in order to ask anyone had they been to that property before, because I think that's key. There's some of those questions that you could certainly ask, and obviously there's nothing else better than being able to just actually go to the property yourself and experience it for yourself to really get an idea of who is the ideal client for this place.
What surprised you most about this property? Did anything stick out? The hills.
The hills. There is also, when you look at the website and you look at everything, because I look at not only do I look within VAX, I go on to TripAdvisor. I kind of do a lot of digging when I'm looking up stuff because sometimes the room categories is where I get hung up on and what they might be called or what's the difference between one versus the other. Since across the board, it's not something that's common on every single resort. Every brand has their own idea of a deluxe versus a junior suite versus, so on and so forth. So they have a little zoo that's there, and it's animals that have been on the property that got hurt. So they have this sweet little monkey that likes to give you high fives. They have some parrots, they have a couple deers, a huge iguana, but they're all injured animals that they take care of there on the property. So you won't find that information anywhere, but it was just kind of a neat little thing to be able to see that there. Them trying to conserve the area because it can be very humid because it is part of that jungle and higher elevation, so you've got a lot more trees in the area that are on the property. So it just kind of was something that was a kind of surprise as you're walking by and you're like, what's that over there? And you go over there and the monkey wants to give you a high five. So
you know what animal always freaks me out when I see them on a property is the coati. It's like a smaller raccoon. And there are some properties where this is normal, right? They're everywhere. It's like a cat being around, but it freaks me out a little bit because they just
scurry by.
Yeah, scurry by, and they're big, so it's not like a mouse, but it still kind of freaks me out a little bit. Yeah. If you had words of advice for agents that were going to attend a FAM, maybe it's their first one, what would be your 1 or 2 words of advice as far as attending and getting the most out of their site visits?
You want to have time to be able to write everything down. If you take a time at night to be able to write everything down. I'm actually an introvert, so I need my downtime. I need to be able to sit down and really reflect on everything that I saw. I try to go a lot of places. I will say, having been home for so long and not having been on a FAM for, a year and a half, it was hard to kind of get back into the swing of things, of looking at stuff. And I think it wasn't until the last day where I was like, oh, shoot, I need to go look at this or take a picture of that, or I should have gone up there. And you know what? I just realized I never even looked at this. So some FAMs, you'll be at one property for 3 days, and it is difficult even in 3 days, especially if you're going to other properties. But really be mindful and pick the ones that you want to do. I know there were quite a few agents that did some FAMs ahead of time and after, which was great because then they also posted that pictures and that kind of thing, gave an idea of how they felt about those other properties too. But don't do too much, because you really do want to remember and keep them in your mind, especially if it's a different brand that you've not ever been to. I know with AM Resorts, you kind of have an idea. They're all different, but you kind of have an idea of how they might be run. With this one, with Grand Palladium, one thing that was a little bit different was Grand Palladium typically has a TRS section, which is their adult only section, and they don't have it. They changed theirs into family selection. And Puerto Vallarta, I think there's another property too that we found out in the probably last month that's switched over, that no longer is an adults only property. So I don't know if that's the way that Puerto Vallarta is going, is that family selection, but it was very different to be able to see that. So that was something that taking note. But I had stayed at a Grand Palladium before in Costa Mujeres, so I had an idea of what to expect. So get out of your comfort zone, talk to people. There's always someone that's going to come talk to you. If you see someone that's sitting there by themselves, go talk to them as well. For sure, because that's where you get to learn more things and what does everybody sell. And it's such a different career field in that everybody in the industry encourages each other, helps each other out, and is so there for you. You don't ever really think about everybody else against you or whose customers doing what. You never think about that. You always think about, if I have a question, I can call this agent. They're,
Right.
they know Hawaii, or they know Mexico, or they know Europe. So it's always nice to have that camaraderie, those new friends that you are going to make on a fam trip. It's not just seeing the property, but it's definitely making new friends for sure.
That's such great words of advice, and we thank you so much for being here. And we should say that your segment has been sponsored by American Airlines Vacation, offering destinations throughout the world, including Puerto Vallarta, for you to fall in love with on this National Couples Day. So enjoy your day. Thank you so much for your feedback. That's great words of advice for advisors, and great thoughts on the Grand Palladium Puerto Vallarta. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. Can you imagine if your job title was director of weddings and romance? I just think that's the coolest title in the world. Our next guest doesn't have to imagine it because it actually is her title. So please help me welcome Marsha-Ann Brown, Director of Weddings and Romance at Sandals and Beaches Resorts. Hi, Marcia. There she is. Hi.
Hi there. Hello to you and all of your viewers.
It's so wonderful to see you. I think that's the coolest title ever, Director of Weddings and Romance. So I get the weddings part. How do you direct romance?
Well, isn't it something? I believe it's quite significant. I should say to you, happy 20th anniversary.
Thank you.
And I think it's so significant that we would be conducting our time together on this National Couples Day.
And we didn't even plan it. We did not plan that.
Absolutely
It just happened.
Yes, and so it really is the most enviable title imaginable. But picture, if you will, I mean, one of the things that we're known for is that from the moment one says I do, the honeymoon begins, and honeymoon is all about romance, right? So it's creating spaces and opportunities for romance, fire pits for two, taking advantage of nature, whether it is from sunrise to sunset, strolls along the beach, creating settings that eke and reek everything that has love and romance.
I love it. So let's talk about destination weddings. Why do you think couples choose to do this?
Oh, without the shadow of a doubt, I believe, and especially now more than ever, everybody would know that destination weddings, it really is a growing niche. It has grown year over year, even despite of having a pandemic. We're actually seeing a resurgence way more than that of even 2019. And I believe a big part of that is as follows. One, couples are looking for value. I never said cheap. They're looking for value with the opportunity of being able, they would be traveling for a honeymoon anyway. and they're looking for the opportunity to be able to fulfill their dream of having their wedding and their honeymoon, and you're able to do that with the value proposition of saying, hang on, we can actually travel on the same airline ticket and fulfill that dream. That's one. And then two, the other value is if you were to do it at home, wherever home is, you are more likely to invite a lot more guests, and the cost burden tends to be borne more by the couple if you actually have it at home. A destination wedding is really more of a mini vacation for your friends and family anyway, and they're traveling to honor your big wedding day. And so that's another phenomenal value. And then why do you travel anyway? It's a part of going somewhere else that's different than home and infusing some of the cultural phenomena of wherever you're going. So I'm speaking to you live from Jamaica. Thank you very much. You would not have an authentic reggae band back at home as you would here. And that could be a part of making your wedding fun, memorable, and exciting, which is what a lot of destination couples are looking for.
How do you overcome the objection from guests that might say, oh gosh, this is so expensive? You know, how do you manage that mindset?
I actually believe that it is so important for folks to see real dollar value. And I would say to you in the very simple, original fashion of drawing a tea table. If this is the cost of a destination wedding, if this is what I'm going to be doing at home, what would it cost for a venue rental? What's the cost at home? What's the cost if I'm doing it at a destination wedding? So for example, with us at Sandals, you're coming to the destination. Do you want the beach? Do you want the gardens? That's a part of your free wedding experience with us. You know, so you begin to do what I call compare the bottom line. And at the end of the day, you must be able to translate that value. This would be the wedding if it's being had at home. This is the cost, and then this would be the cost in doing a destination wedding. When you do that value comparison, it really does become a no-brainer.
I love it. What words of advice do you have for agents that want to get into this niche, as far as, you know, knowing how to do this and do it well?
Great question. So I always say to agents, two things. One, do not be daunted by the fear of planning weddings. Because I find that some folks who it's an unfamiliar territory for them, they hold their hands off. So one, why should you embrace it? It is one niche that's guaranteed to stay forever, in and out of season. Because guess what? People fall in love no matter what. So you want to guarantee a niche that you know is securing all of your ability to stabilize your business. That's one. Two, in the case of Sandals, we understand fully that your primary role as an agent is to really get the client, and then you work with our brand to partner with us that we do the wedding planning. Because listen, if I throw you questions like a bride would, excuse me, how many buds will come on that dendrobium orchids? Do you know when they will bloom? What colors do they come in? What time is high tide? What time is low tide? How dense is the sand? That's not for you to actually take on. Your role as an agent is to be able to procure your respective clients, partner with a brand that believes in supporting that, and allow us to have our wedding planners who are complimentary, might I add, which is another value to share, a wedding planner who will guide our mutual clients along the entire planning journey. So the bride that might be highly indecisive, today she loves buttercup yellow, tomorrow she's in love with lilac, and swings on the pendulum in between, that would not afford you to get any additional business because you're nursing that one client. So yeah, the power of partnership. with those of us who are really made to sit and do the granular details, that's what you want to focus on.
Well, and I think that's a message no matter what your niche is in this industry, right? You got to know some things really, really well and learn them like the back of your hand so that you can speak knowledgeably about it. And then that confidence comes across to your clients and they're more open to your suggestions and your recommendations. So, you know, knowing a lot about a few things sometimes is better than knowing a little bit about a lot of things.
I could not have said it better. In fact, I believe client confidence is also strengthened when they know you have certification. So, you know, we have a wedding certification program, and to participate in that, at the end of the day, when you can say to someone, I'm not just your travel agent, but I'm a travel agent who has chosen to specialize in this niche, you tend to carve out that speciality and don't keep it a secret. It's a big bragging right. And so I believe it's really important to determine niche specialization and take advantage of that.
In this job, you have had to have seen some pretty crazy things. What are some of the most memorable moments that you've had in this role?
I was just going to say, instead of crazy, I'll call them unique. And then memorable, oh my goodness, I literally could think of gazillion things. But I would say to you two things. One, there are no two couples that are the same. Can we first identify that? And because of that, there are no two weddings that will ever be the same. And therefore, no two experiences that are ever the same. But because you have challenged me to respond to what has really stood out as most memorable, one of the more memorable ones that will never escape my beautiful mind is a bride who is, the groom is in waiting. He's at the altar waiting on the beach for his blissful, beautiful bride to be presented to him. And we get a grand stall because the bride has decided she actually no longer wants to walk down the aisle. Instead, she wants to appear on a horse. Now, we're talking 5 minutes before the wedding time. Hello? No, you do know that we don't keep...
Not 2 hours before, 5 minutes.
5 minutes before. And you do understand that we don't keep horses in our back pocket. nor are we on a ranch. But here's what I will say. I speak with great pride that we've got the most amazing team. If you work in weddings, you have to be a dream maker. And we believe that that's a key component to who we choose. And so we will go through hoops to make dreams a reality. And we did. The groom, while sweating beads of sweat to think, oh my goodness, what's happening? And obviously we can't let the cat out of the bag. Had to just assure him that his beautiful bride is coming. Believe me, she's coming. He would never have a clue how. But yes, we were able to fulfill that dream and make it a reality. And as they say, the rest is history. A grand entrance.
I can't even imagine what that would be like to make a decision at the last minute like that and fulfill it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one of the things I would want to say to all my travel partners, all my agents, I would say to you, as I say to our couples all the time, dream big. Don't talk about limitations. Decide what you believe would make this once in a lifetime dream a reality. And never for a moment thinking that weddings are limited to a couple's first time, second or third time wedding. In your case, it's your anniversary, it's your 20th. That's a big milestone. But I'm saying, honey, celebrate the fact that it is the third anniversary. We made it for 3 years. Get the pom-poms out and do a renewal of vow. Those are opportunities. You know, do the anniversaries as a form of a celebration, bearing in mind that there should be no limits to your ability to dreaming. And asking the question. So you might ask me something that's not doable in the Caribbean. You might ask me for a horse, and I'm going to say to you, you might ask for an elephant. But you know what I got for you? I got Ginny the donkey. That's a guarantee. Why not have Ginny the donkey instead of an elephant and do it Caribbean style, right? Because you wouldn't necessarily have that at home. So I say this is the time to afford yourselves as agents to also be dream makers. And how fulfilling is it to participate in the role of making dreams a reality for couples that are going to say their I do?
I love it, and such a beautiful sentiment to end on. And I think if you called the donkey a burro, it sounds better. That I think we can sell. The donkey, I'm not so sure, but you know what? You guys are the master. You're the master of marketing and selling. So I have no doubt that somehow Sandals would make the donkey sound amazing. So thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. On behalf of myself and the entire team that delivers on these dreams, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. You guys, I love when segments just kind of fall in place. And, you know, you might not know this if you're not an agent with KHM, but we have the most amazing groups team, and they are here to help us morning, noon, and night. I'm throwing them under the bus a little bit there. They don't answer the phone that late at night, but they are amazing, and they are so great at helping with destination weddings if you've never done them before. Please help me welcome Joanne Shikitino from the groups department here at KHM Travel Group with Groups Etc. 5 tips for destination wedding groups. And this segment is sponsored by Norwegian Cruise Line, the pioneers in freestyle cruising. Vacation your way with Norwegian Cruise Line. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, boy, that was a mouthful, wasn't it?
It was a mouthful. I like to see if it'll all slide off, you know, just super easily. And for some reason, my webcam keeps going away. So like you were saying, you're talking to no one and just a little light up there. So don't you love how this just automatically flows right into what you're here to talk about today? And it's how an agent can do this and do this really well.
Right, right. Well, you know, Marcia, definitely a hard act to follow. I could listen to her all day. I'm sure most of you feel the same.
It's that Jamaican voice. I love
Yeah,
it.
Sure is. Well, so as you know, here in KHM Groups, you know, we're here to encourage and help develop and make you feel good about sometimes the daunting task, as mentioned, with destination weddings, especially if it would be a first time or a relatively new style group for you. So we're here to help take the mystery out of that and to give you the encouragement that you're going to need. So I'll just jump right into it. And this really dovetails exactly with what Marcia said. You know, when you're going to be the wedding planner, are you going to assume that role as the wedding planner, or you're going to be the travel planner? If you're not comfortable doing both, you just learned that you have this great resource available to you from the resort, whether it's Sandals or any other brand. If your bridal couple is going to be making these arrangements, they're going to be in the hands of the professionals. I mean, I'll tell you the truth, I know when a dendrobium orchid blooms and how many, but how many really do? So
I do not. So, I can guarantee.
Put yourself in the hands of the expert. You know, they're going to be, you know, able to cover all of the bases with the, you know, the symbolic wedding versus the legal ceremonies. You know, the travel documents people will need. You're not going to get your hands all wet with that. Your role is to be the advisor, the planner. I love the dream maker title as well. So figure that out from the beginning. Learn that you're going to be putting your bridal couple into the right professional hands. So have no doubt that the wedding planning team at your chosen resort is going to be the resource for them.
And I think that's so key. I know when I've done destination weddings, sometimes, you know, you might be looking at a few different resorts and you'll send the request for more information about the weddings, or maybe even to try solidify a date, which we'll get into next. And I almost always recommend the hotel that responds in the least amount of time. Like, you know, I feel like if you give a week, that's great. But if you receive no response or a response super down there, like, to me, that almost sets the tone. And so I want a resort and a wedding department that's going to communicate. And
you want that responsiveness. You want to make
Yes.
sure, well, your bridal couple, as fun as planning a wedding is for most people, there's a lot of stress involved. And the more that you could take that stress away from the couple, again, it's another feather in your hat to be able to do that for them. But we'll roll right into that. A lot of agents that start doing destination weddings without having a solid background aren't even aware. You can't go to a supplier. You can't begin to request your accommodations, your room count, until you have your date confirmed. So you'd be spinning your wheels and making all these outreaches to a variety of folks looking for availability and rate quotes when you have nothing confirmed. So that, of course, is a given. Once your date, your ceremony is confirmed, then you could actually go in and request, which sort of rolls into the next point. Are you going to be doing a contracted group where you're going to have a definite room count minimum? You're going to be bound and tied to the terms and conditions of a contract, or do you want to go flexible? I talk to agents all the time. They're fearful that if they get a flexible group, they have no guaranteed price nor availability to confirm. And that may be true, but there are tons of successful flexible style groups for weddings done all the time. So if you feel that you have to have a contract, you really want to discuss that with us. We encourage that here in the group team. We want to make sure that you and your bridal couple understand exactly what's required with the terms and conditions of a contract.
And Joanne, when someone does a flexible group, those benefits that come to the couple because it's contracted, those filter over to a flexible group as well, correct? They can still earn
exactly
those benefits.
What some folks might not understand is the resort provides those benefits. If you've achieved 15 rooms, for example, and you know that you're going to get this, and that for your bridal couple, if you have 15 rooms booked under flexible code, the resort's going to honor that same promotion. So you really don't run the risk of saying, well, I have to have a contract or my bridal couple won't get this. So more often than not, we'd like you to look at both options because, listen, if we had $1 for every one that we had to talk out of a potentially hazardous group contract, we'd all be out of debt probably. So I say that a lot to agents because I'm like, listen, do you understand that you are asking us on your behalf to sign a contract, a legally binding document that is saying, I not only agree to the deposit requirement, the terms and conditions, what we call the utilization, what I'm allowed to drop, your what we also refer to as your attrition schedule. If this is not going to work for you, where there's going to be a financial risk or a penalty involved, we're not going to advise you sign a contract. As a matter of fact, we won't have a signed contract if you can't come to us and say, yes, I have reviewed all of this with my bridal couple. I have a signed agreement between myself and them, which is very important. And it's really heartwarming to us here to find that our agents are doing that. They're understanding this is a business. This is your business. Why would you put such risk out there? Why would you have the potential that you're going to open your wallet and pay for a fee because something fell apart with the group, or God forbid, the bridal couple broke up, which happens. So, we very much want to make sure, and we want this opportunity to talk to the agents about this. Let's get down to it. We're not trying to, take your business.
It's not about
opportunity.
discouraging. It's about
exactly.
educating.
Exactly. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. But circling back, the one thing I really wish would be something that more agents could do. I mean, and this goes with building your brand, building your reputation. If you could build into your repertoire of what you talk about, if a bridal couple's been recommended to you, or they just know you, maybe it's a family member, a niece, nephew, whomever, but when you're having that initial conversation with them, you really need to get in front of it. If they're going to be inviting 200 people to a stateside wedding, there's a really good likelihood a minimum of half or more are going to come to that wedding. They're going to RSVP, they're going to show up. But when you're inviting 200 people to a destination wedding where they have to buy airline tickets, they have to take time off, make the plans, not for just a weekend to come to the city where the wedding is, but actually 5, 6, 7 days to fly to the destination and invest the time and money to stay there, our consumers, they don't know what this costs unless they're in the travel industry themselves. They really have no concept. So when you're going to send that save the date notice, you should have this conversation with your bridal couple. Yes, send the save the date notice, but highlight somewhere in that message where you plan on having your wedding, what type of resort you're going to be at, what your lead-in price points might start at, just to give them a ballpark figure. I mean, if I knew that this was going to be cost prohibitive just on the initial stages, I may not be raising my hands and saying, yes, I'm going to come,
Right.
because the verbal yes does not translate into booked customers. So if that could be one tip I could give, when you have the opportunity to talk to a bridal couple, have that in the initial conversation. Talk to them about sharing that information with the consumer. Ultimately, you're relying on them to book and to fulfill your room count. If you don't share with them, you're not really doing your good job sharing that information, getting the knowledge out there. And we know that works. So if we could give you pointers on that, and that's one of the takeaways you have from today, we'd really like to pursue that. How to have that conversation.
Let's just go back to that contract real quick, because communication is so key. Would you suggest that they take the group contract that has been created by our favorite tour operators and almost rewrite that?
Yes.
That the couple is that, or is this something that's separate that they're going to create? Can they do that?
Yes, it's a multi-part answer. There are one or two of our suppliers that will actually, in a contract, this is not a flex, in a contracted group, a couple of the suppliers will actually have a customer or client-facing set of terms and conditions that you could get in there, and you could alter the date. So for example, we always say if your deposit due is on the 10th of the month, you might want to tell them it's due the 1st of the month. You want to pad that date. So you could basically have all the legal jargon that's spelled out in the contract passed on to your customer with just a modest modification of the dates and things. But failing that, you could certainly cut and paste things that are in your contract, create a separate document, again, embellish or pad dates, or again, let them know exactly the content of what's going to be there. That should drive the agreement that you're going to make up with yourself and your customer.
I love it. Such good words. And I think this, again, this is all about educating. I think you have to take these things slow, not rush into them. A lot of times agents get so excited about the prospect, they forget the process.
Indeed.
And we have to stop, take a deep breath, and really take these things one step at a time to ensure that you have all your ducks in a row. Because it's very easy to get super excited about a group that could potentially be big.
Yeah. And I tell them all the time, listen, you're not born knowing everything. You have to be new at something. So if this is your first group, great. But don't think you're going into it blindly, and take our advice. Again, don't take it that we're trying to, take all the air out of your balloon, or, put hurdles in front of you. Our goal is to make sure you are profitable, that you're making money, that you're not putting your business at risk, and that you're going into things eyes wide open. And then I tell them a lot. A year from now, we'll be laughing at this conversation. You're going to say, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. And in a year, you're going to be an expert. But I say that in a year, you're not going to be an expert overnight. So don't be intimidated if you get a request for a group and you don't know how to handle it, whether it's a wedding group or any other kind of a group. That's what we exist for here at KHM. We're your partner.
Awesome. Joanne, thank you so much for being here.
You're
so
welcome.
Great, such wonderful words of advice. And we hope that you'll come back and join us again sometime soon.
No problem, for sure.
That's wonderful. Have a great National Couples Day.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Our next guest. We changed that slide. There we go. Matt has an amazing gift for finding unique destinations and accommodations, and today's picks for Matt's Compass are no different. Please welcome back Matt Walgren with the education team here at KHM Travel Group. And this segment is sponsored by Travel Impressions, one of the nation's largest leisure tour operators, offering FIT vacations to over 200 destinations. And they certainly offer the 3 destinations that Matt has provided for us today. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Carolyn.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
So before the show, right? It's what?
It's raining hard, lightning and thunder, but
oh goodness, goodness. So before the show, we were changing the light in the background, and we were kind of going for the KHM colors, but now I feel like National Couples Day, we probably should have chosen the red, which looked a little bit too much like a nightclub,
Is it?
but
Let me
we
see.
should
I can change it.
Yeah, here we go with the theme. This is a very cool light, you guys. If you don't have one
Like
of these, I
that?
feel like we all need to purchase one. There you go.
Here you go. A few different colors of red.
Isn't that cool? So yeah, Matt will put in the chat box where he purchased this little ditty. You have some cool stuff. All right, so you have just such a gift for finding unique destinations. What did you bring us today for National Couples Day?
Yeah, so National Couples Day. We're thinking romance, right? And what I first thought of was marriage, was honeymoons, and this one's kind of an obvious pick, but I'm going to have a twist on it. It's not exactly a destination, it's more of a style of accommodation, and that's the overwater bungalow, right? So that's what you think of when you think of honeymoons. And what do you think of when you think of overwater bungalows? You typically think Tahiti. It's a top destination for honeymoons. It's very secluded. I want to tell you something maybe a lot of people didn't know. The number of visitors that Hawaii receives in 1 month is about the same as the number of visitors that Tahiti receives an entire year. So it's very
Really?
secluded. Yeah. So a
So
lot of
I
people don't know that, but it's pretty
didn't
remote,
know
right?
this.
Yeah, it's
Huh.
hard. It's hard to get to. It's far. It's remote. I've sent clients to the Intercontinental and Sofitel. But if I want to give you a top pick for overwater bungalow in Tahiti, I'm going to choose the Four Seasons. Of course, their food is amazing. The service, there's nothing better than the service that they provide. So that would be my #1 pick. But I know there's going to be people out there that say, that's too expensive. Is there any other options? Or it's too far away, right? So there are other options besides Tahiti that some people may not know. Of course, there's El Dorado, Maroma, Palafitos, in the Playa del Carmen area, or Cancun Riviera. It's not necessarily much cheaper, I'll say. Sometimes it can be, but it's not necessarily much cheaper than Tahiti, but it is a lot less expensive in terms of your flights, and it's not as far, so it's less time. So if people want to stay a little bit closer to home, that's another pick. Now, if you want to save money, here's one that a lot of people might not know about. That's the Philippines. They have beautiful islands there with overwater bungalows, or sometimes they call them overwater cottages. And you want to look at El Nido Resorts. Just Google El Nido Resorts and a few options will come up. And they're typically about half the price of what you would pay in Tahiti. So if you have clients on a budget, they don't care how far they want to go, but they do want that overwater bungalow. Philippines is a great option. And I've sent clients there as well, and they loved it.
So Matt, the crazy thing is we didn't discuss these before you came on. I mean, you sent me the list, but we didn't have a discussion about top picks. Do you know this is where I spent my honeymoon? In Tahiti, in an overwater bungalow.
Oh, really? Where
Yes.
where was it? Which
we
property?
actually we went to 3 different destinations in Tahiti. We started off in Moorea, and that's where we did the overwater bungalow, which was amazing. Then we moved to this tiny little island. If you watch Fantasy Island, it's kind of like this. It's called Vahine, Vahine, and there are only, I want to say, 12 accommodations on the property, maybe 16, and the only people allowed on the island are the staff. So you have Mr. Rourke, who looked like Weird Al Yankovic, his wife, and then you have the staff that comes on every day, but no visitors. You won't see anyone else on the island. And then we went to Bora Bora. So we were there for 2 weeks. So absolutely agree. It is romantic. It's special. The overwater it's really unbelievable. And so we stayed, we had little, we weren't always in an overwater bungalow. We did overwater, we did beach bungalow, and we did garden. So it was 3 different accommodations to kind of get every aspect of Tahiti, but one of the best destinations ever.
Nice. It's on my bucket list. Actually, all of these that I mentioned today are on my bucket list. I haven't been yet, but I'm dying to go.
So your next one I think is so cool. Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, Savannah, Georgia. For those who want to stay closer to home, given the times, it's got that southern charm. It's a quaint city. It's not huge. There's population of less than 150,000, so it's not tiny. There's plenty to do there. but it's not a huge city. You're still going to get a little quiet, a little seclusion. Seclusion. Of course, what do you think of when you think of Savannah? You think of history, you think of riverboats, you think of amazing food. Of course, there's Tybee Island if you want to relax on the beach. So you still have some of that. And I knew they got the paddle boards and stuff there too. So this is something that's on my bucket list. I mentioned it before. I'm going finally this year in November with ASTA. So I'm excited about that to explore. I know we have some agents that live out there, so I might be able to connect with some of them, and maybe they'll give me a little private tour of the city. If this is something romantic and you're looking for something a little smaller, you know, I wanted to think of a place that's more of a small boutique property, and there's a great one. It's called Hamilton Turner Inn. It just has 17 guest rooms. It's fairly centrally located. It's one of those old, you know, when you look it up, you're going to see it's one of those kind of old classic style houses is what it looks like. So it's really cool, really romantic, very charming.
That is one area of the country that, well, there are many areas of the country that I haven't spent a lot of time in, but Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, I haven't spent a lot of time there. And it's an area that I know is just gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially Georgia, when you're, you know, you've got the coast there, you've got, it's lush, it's green.
Yeah.
It's been on my bucket list for like a decade now,
Yeah.
so I can't wait to go.
So we're going to go from the south way north.
Yeah, so Iceland. Iceland is for more adventurous couples. You know, think glacier hiking, ice climbing, diving in between continents. Those who want to kind of push the boundaries of you know, sort of physical activities. Of course, it's got beautiful landscape. You think of Iceland, you think of waterfalls. Another thing a lot of people think of now when you think of Iceland is Game of Thrones, because a lot of filming was shot there. There's sites to be seen there. There are tours that'll show you all the spots to go to in Iceland for those iconic sort of Game of Thrones sort of scenes. And this one that I chose, I wanted to get out of Reykjavik. I wanted to get in a very scenic area. And so I chose Ion Adventure Hotel, which is in Selfoss. It's very scenic. It's a mountainous area, and it's just a beautiful property. So very romantic for the nature lovers.
And is the adventure piece of that title just because it's kind of further out from a main town, or are there pieces of that you know, are we talking dog sleds or hiking or?
Definitely hiking. Well, it's called that because it's in an area where you would go and do those things, where you'd go hiking. It's not that far from all those sorts of activities. So that's why they call it the Adventure Hotel, from what I understand. But it's not like the hotel itself has zip lines or stuff like that in it.
Okay.
As far as I could see anyways. But yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for being here. I'm telling you, I don't know where you come up with this stuff, but boy, you're a good travel advisor.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll plan your
Have
next
a great couple's day.
anniversary. Thank
you.
you.
Well, you
Bye.
guys, we might have to schedule a trip to Savannah or to Iceland to celebrate our anniversary, because it just looks amazing. And I'm trying to change the slide one last time. There we go. You guys, thank you so much for being here. It's been a wonderful show with some amazing guests. Thank you to our show sponsor, Apple Leisure Group, and to all of our segment sponsors this week. Next week, you guys, is really going to be amazing. We're coming to you live from the ASTA Global Convention in Chicago. Rick Zimmerman will be there. Marie will be there. Anita will be there. Bill will be there. Virginia Ann will be there. And I will be there. We have no idea where we're going to set this up, but it's going to be fun. We're hoping Zane Kirby will pop by and chat with us. Beth Kitzman's going to stop by from VAX to chat with us. So we hope that you'll tune in when we come to you live from there. So enjoy National Couples Day, you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining us today. Take care.